All right, Maria, what do you think?
Yeah, it's 12:01. I'll keep an eye. Um, and if anybody else is trying to get in.
Okay. Um, welcome. I know, I don't know Philip. I know Lindsay, I know Laura. Um, we, my name's Tom DeKeyser. I'm the superintendent. Maria is our director of communication. I made her the host in case we have to share some graphs and things, and just to help facilitate questions. Typically, we put the questions in the chat. So as you're listening to me go over a few things, if you have a particular question, just enter it into the chat and we'll stop and try to address it that way. And if we need further explanation, then we can uh, go from there. And then if someone jumps in later, they'll kind of have a running record of what's already been asked. So I'll just go over. I know, again, Lindsay, and I know Laura, you know this fairly well, but just a quick overview of what we're doing is really just allowing people to ask any questions they might have relative to our May 2nd ballot proposal, which I call the non-homestead operating millage proposal. So what is it? Why are we doing it? It basically comes down to a simple law that from the state of Michigan that says school districts must levy 18 mills of non-homestead operating millage tax on businesses and non-homestead properties. And if you don't do that, the state will not give you your full per pupil student allowance. And so Whitmore Lake has successfully been levying that 18 mills of tax. However, some good news, property values in the area have gone up, and the total taxable value of all property within our district has gotten to a point where it triggered something called a Headley rollback. And so, while it's good news that it's usually property value increases are indicative of good schools, safe communities, places to do business. That's great. But when those property values totally exceed the rate of inflation, we get what's called a rollback. And so we predicted that might happen. And so we built to our last operating millage proposal, we built in a cushion of 1.5 mils, which is perfectly allowable under the law, and a lot of schools around us do it. And that 1.5 mil cushion has eroded, and so now we're levying less than 18 mils. And so the board asks for an impact statement on that, and you can see if you check out our website, or maybe if Maria, if you show us that little impact graph, you can see why the board decided to put this in front of the voters. While the net loss of operating millage is only about 0.05 mils, it does start to have accumulating impact where we lose revenue. Again, districts can only roll back up to 18 mils if we go back to the voters and ask. And some schools do. Some schools go back every single year, and that's how they handle their rollbacks. They roll up with a vote, but it wastes money, it wastes time at the ballots, and it wastes our voters' time, and we do feel we get voter fatigue. So we try to go a full 10 years, and we try to pick a number of mill cushion, or a hedge that's going to last for 10 years. The last time we did this, like I said, we picked 1.5, and we made it about 5 years. And so I've shared this with the board that while we're only losing about 7,500 in 22, at the end of 23, you'll be losing over 40,000. At the end of 24, close to 80, 25, you're getting close to 120. And by 26, you're losing close to $160,000. So your net loss revenue, if you don't change your operating millage cushion to something higher is going to be over $400,000. So again, a good problem. Home values are going up, but it does have a negative impact on school districts. I saw a question as I was going on that taxation diatribe. I'll try to address that right now. Philip, you're asking, not fond of any millage, nothing personal. Thank you. I don't like asking people for money, so I appreciate you making it easy. But my question is, why are you exempting homesteads? Why not spread the tax burden? Again, this is state law. I really could, poor Maria's probably heard me go on and on about what's called the Headley amendment to this operating millage. I think, Philip, it only allows us to tax non-homestead properties. The problem and where it starts to get really confusing is, it's the rollback is based on the total property, homes included. And so sometimes people do get confused, but the law is pretty specific. We can only tax non-homestead properties. Does this disproportionately affect renters, which tend to be lower income? The only way I can answer that is if you live in a rental unit, which is subject to this tax, if it is a non-homestead property, then that owner, that landowner, who has some rights to change the rental rates of his or her properties, could go up. But I want to, again, not to try to like bore you with all this, but the actual amount of money that an individual business owner is going to be, as this is going to affect, is pretty minimal. I mean, in this area, if you look at the average taxable value of a business, this 0.05 something change in the mill levy back up to 18, it impacts about $140, $10 to $12 a month. Your average business owner is going to be impacted. It's just not that much money. I would love to maybe talk to rental units and share with them how small this impact is. But if you spread it out over all the businesses, that 0.05 mil really starts to add up, like I showed in that graph. I don't know if that helps you at all. It's a very specific type of business. Each of them can react to the changes in the economy, whether it be inflation or taxes, how they choose. This particular impact is, I would say, pretty minimal on businesses. Again, back to Headley rollbacks. The only way we can do this is to go back to voters each time. Our board, pretty proactive, asked for a cushion rate that would get us a full 10 years. That's the most we can go with these types of taxes. And we studied it. We worked with our financial planners, and 3 mil cushion seemed to be a pretty safe bet. So, when you go to the voting booths, Philip, and you see the confusing language, if you haven't already done so, a lot of people are asking me, are you levying 21? Are you levying 18? The most we can levy is 18. It's the max. But having that cushion allows us, when there are rollbacks, to take a little bit out of that 3 mil cushion. Again, you all voted and approved 19.5 the last time we did it. I underestimated how rapidly the home values in the area would be increasing. Again, I think it's a good problem. I think 3 is a safer bet. I think it's, again, the board believes it too. They think it's, I think it's a proactive step to try to mitigate going back and back and back to the voters to bother them with this. But let's see. We talked about the cushion. We've added adding the 3 mils. I can go over exactly what the ballot says, because I it has been the subject of a lot of questions that I get. Why is it so confusing? The best answer I can give you, which some of our board members don't necessarily like, but it is necessarily an answer from an attorney, our attorneys who help us with this, is simply you have a statute that tells you how to build your ballot language, and you have to check off the boxes, and this checks off the boxes. The first part of this, though, says very plainly, the proposal will allow a school district to levy the statutory rate not to exceed 18 mils. That's a very important part of the ballot language. We can't go beyond that. It also says that this is going to be levied on properties except your principal residence and other properties exempted by law. In this area, this is primarily businesses and second homes. The next part of our ballot language shall the limitation on the amount of taxes which may be assessed on all properties except the principal residence or other exempt properties in Whitmore Lake be increased by 21 mils. Again, this is where the confusion comes in. The first part says we're not going to levy more than 18. The second part says we're going to levy 21. That's where I fight with the attorneys on, but that's what they tell me how it has to be written. That is simply our 3 mil cushion. Sometimes I call it a hedge of 3 mils. The first part's very important, though. Again, we cannot levy more than 18. The third part of this ballot language that I kind of break apart is how much then are we actually going to have to adjust to get to that, back to that 18 mils. And this is where it reads, inclusive to provide funds for operating purposes, the estimate of the revenue the district will collect if the millage is approved is 0.0542. Again, that's a small amount, but when you spread that over all the businesses in Whitmore Lake Public School Districts in 2023, that will generate $43,000 of revenue. That goes right into our general fund. Our operating millage makes up about 20% of our general fund. That's huge. Our general fund, I sometimes call our instructional and safety budget. We have sinking funds that we use to fix things. We have rec millages that we use to operate our pool. We have school lunch funds that we use to operate our kitchens and our food service programs. But our general fund is it's buses, it's teachers, it's police officers. $40,000 might not sound like a lot, but that's the starting salary of a first-year teacher. So that's when it really gets the attention of our school board, because they know what those rates are. In the 24 school year, again, that goes to $80,000. And in 25, that goes to $120,000. And then again, like I said, in 26, over $160,000. So that small amount, 0.05, doesn't sound like a lot, but like I said, it gets the attention of our school board pretty quickly. If you're listening to this, I want a few key takeaways. I always tell people when they look at this ballot, we are not going to levy more than 18 mils. This is a non-homestead levy. It's on businesses and second homes. It's a big chunk of our budget, and preventing the levy of 18 mils can only be done by going back to the voters every year or building in a cushion. Our cushion is 3 mils. That's why it has to say 21, unfortunately. But I think it's a good proactive step that the board picked. As a superintendent, I can only share information. I can't advocate one way or another. If anyone listening has more specific questions or has some more detail that they'd like to know, I'm certainly open for questions or any way I can get you more information on why we're doing this or what this is. Maria entered into the chat a breakdown of our ballot language, what I just went through. Thank you, Maria. We have those documents included on our website. Anyone who's asking questions about this should be directed to our website, or again, I will certainly entertain emails on it from anyone that's interested. Most of the emails I've gotten have been ballot language issues. This might be the fastest Q&A session I've ever performed. We will record it. We are recording it. We'll put it on our Facebook. If it's, again, if anyone has further questions, please feel free to contact me. I'll give everyone a minute to think about it. Maria, is there anything that you think I missed or didn't cover or would like to cover more explicitly?
No, I feel like, yeah, that covered all of it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.